Meghan is livid. Harry has met someone who is his age, with whom he is in love, and who is in love with him. And Meghan found out about it after she discovered texts on Harry's phone.
I tried so hard.
They really hate each other now, and they cannot hide it anymore.
She was the villain.
How was she dangerous?
Because of the need for her to rehabilitate her image.
Harry was not in love with Meghan Markle.
He was madly in love. The veil is now lifting.
The silence didn't break with a confession. It broke with a pattern. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Because before anyone whispered about secret texts or another woman, the timeline had already betrayed Prince Harry. Every flight.
These are the two photos of the women that people are speculating that could be the woman for Harry.
Every absence, every solo appearance was quietly stacking into something far more explosive than a rumor. And when that whisper finally landed this week, it didn't shock anyone. It confirmed what had been hiding in plain sight all along.
I knew Meghan for a bit before she met Harry. Did exactly the same to me. You know, she did that to many people that she knew, that she'd either worked with or was friends with or whatever. It just seems to me she's what I would call a ruthless social climber, who just when people are no longer appropriate parts of her circle, they have to be expunged quickly so she can move on up the ladder.
Absolutely.
The first clue wasn't the alleged messages. It was the reaction. No outrage, no disbelief, just a collective shrug, and 2 words echoing across the internet: saw it coming. That is not how scandals usually land inside a royal narrative. That is how endings land. And the real question suddenly isn't who the other woman might be, it's how long this marriage has been unraveling behind a carefully managed public illusion. Because rewind the past year, and the evidence doesn't just suggest distance, it screams it. Meghan Markle gliding through Paris alone, filming herself casually in the backseat of a car, heels up, camera rolling, completely detached from the man whose entire life is defined by that city's darkest memory. At the exact same time, Prince Harry is moving in a completely different orbit. London trips without her, appearances without her, decisions without her. Not once, not twice, repeatedly, and this is where the timeline starts tightening like a noose. Separate brands, separate schedules, separate public identities. This is not a couple adjusting, it is a couple dividing. What was once framed as professional independence now looks more like a controlled separation, carefully disguised under PR language. And when the talk of another woman enters that environment, it doesn't feel like a shock, it feels like the next logical step in a story that has already been written. But to understand how we got here, you have to go back to the one name Harry himself could never escape: Chelsea Davy. Not a rumor, not speculation, but a documented truth he carried into a courtroom under oath. He didn't talk about royal duty first. He didn't talk about public service. He talked about her. He blamed the press for destroying the only relationship that ever made him feel normal, the only life that felt real. And the details he revealed weren't small, they were suffocating. Surveillance fears, a tracking device on her car, private arguments turned into headlines, a relationship hunted until it collapsed. That matters now, because it exposes something deeper. Harry didn't just lose Chelsea, he believed the system took her from him. And when he stood in court again over the Daily Mail, he doubled down, calling that entire period a nightmare. Not ours, his. And then he went even further in his own book, admitting he didn't want that royal life at all, that if given the choice, he would have walked away completely. That line changes everything. Because it proves the man we are watching today once dreamed of escape long before Meghan Markle ever entered the picture. And yet, the pattern repeats. After Chelsea came Cressida Bonus, another woman who saw the same life up close and made the same decision to leave it. 2 different relationships, 2 identical conclusions. And then comes the moment that feels almost too symbolic to be real: Chelsea Davy sitting inside St. George's Chapel in 2018, smiling, watching Harry marry Meghan Markle. The woman he couldn't protect from the royal machine witnessing him willingly step back into it. That is not just irony. That is a turning point. Because what followed was not an escape, It was an expansion. He didn't leave the circus. He relocated it. From palaces to California, from royal protocol to Netflix cameras, the scale didn't shrink, it grew. And suddenly, the woman who once avoided the spotlight at all costs was replaced by someone who built a life inside it. Then came the moment that many now point to as a fracture line Paris Fashion Week. Meghan in the car, filming, posting, detached. Not just any street, not just any city. The exact stretch tied forever to Princess Diana's death, and the explanation that followed that she didn't realize where she was only deepened the unease. Because there are only two possibilities. She didn't know, which raises serious questions. Or she did know, which raises even bigger ones. And remember, this is a man who publicly described his fear of history repeating itself, referencing paparazzi chases, night roads, cameras, his mother. That fear is not abstracted as personal, immediate, raw, and yet the visual contradiction stands there, undeniable. From that moment, the narrative shifts from tension to disconnection. Because if you want to measure a relationship, don't read statements, read calendars. And their calendars tell a story no spokesperson can rewrite. May alone becomes a case study. Meghan Markle, in Geneva, alone. Chicago, alone. Gala events, alone. Red carpets, alone. Meanwhile, Prince Harry is nowhere beside her. And it doesn't stop there. Reports stack up. Over 40 days without a public appearance together. Separate obligations. Separate priorities. Separate lives. Even whispers of a vow renewal, an idea that only surfaces when something fundamental has already fractured. Because no one renews vows when everything is working. At the same time, Harry's pattern becomes just as revealing. Repeated returns to the United Kingdom alone. No Meghan, no children. The official explanation leans on security concerns, but the contradiction is impossible to ignore. The same man who cannot safely bring his family over can still travel himself, repeatedly, without hesitation. And then comes the most revealing piece, his own words, saying he wants to bring Meghan and the children, saying he hopes to, saying he intends to, but never doing it. A gap between what is said and what is done. And in royal narratives, that gap is everything. Because long before any alleged texts, before any rumored woman, before any whispered betrayal, the structure had already shifted. This was no longer a shared life. It was two parallel ones. And now, with the whisper growing louder, the stakes change completely. Because if the foundation was already fractured, then the arrival of another presence, real or rumored, doesn't create the collapse. It exposes it. And the most dangerous part isn't the rumor itself. It's how easily it fits into everything that came before. Because once a story starts making sense like this, it doesn't stop, it accelerates. And the next question isn't whether something is happening behind the scenes. It's who will break first when it finally comes into the light. And this is where the entire narrative flips from quiet tension into something far more dangerous. Because once the rumor lands, every single piece of behavior that came before it starts rearranging itself into motive. Not coincidence, not miscommunication. Motive. The whisper about Prince Harry's phone, the alleged texts, the suggestion of another woman roughly his own age. It doesn't arrive in isolation. It arrives on top of a year-long pattern of absence, distance, and contradiction. And suddenly, those solo trips, those empty seats, those separate calendars stop looking like independence. They start looking like preparation. Because look at how the roles have shifted without anyone officially announcing it. For years, the image sold to the public was simple Meghan Markle in control, Prince Harry following, adapting, reshaping himself around her world. But now, the balance looks different. Now he is the one moving quietly between continents. He is the one returning to the United Kingdom again and again. He is the one publicly expressing attachment to a country he claimed to leave behind. That is not loyalty to a new life, that is gravity pulling him back to an old one. And the more he moves, the more her world seems to solidify without him. Because while he circles London, she builds something entirely separate in California. Solo appearances, solo speeches, solo influence. The Geneva trip, the Chicago appearance, the museum gala, the children's hospital event, the Tyler Perry tribute night. Each one another brick in a structure that does not require him to exist. And when a public figure begins to operate seamlessly without their partner, that is not independence, it is detachment. Then comes the most telling contradiction of all the narrative of protection. The official line continues to orbit around security concerns, around safety, around the inability to bring Meghan Markle and the children into the United Kingdom. But that narrative collapses the moment you watch his travel pattern. Because the same risks that supposedly prevent a family visit somehow do not prevent repeated solo returns. And once that contradiction becomes visible, it raises a far more uncomfortable question. Is the barrier really security? Or is it something else entirely? Because here is where the deeper shift begins to show itself. This is no longer just about distance between two people. This is about two completely different directions. Meghan Markle expanding outward into influence, branding, and public visibility. Prince Harry turning backward toward Britain, toward familiarity, toward something that looks dangerously close to regret. And regret is the one force that destroys any carefully managed narrative. Because the more he speaks, the more it slips through. That line about Britain being the country he proudly served, that quiet emphasis on belonging, that repeated mention of wanting to return with his family, those are not neutral statements. Those are signals. And the people watching this closely, the commentators, the biographers, the insiders, they are all landing in the same place. This is not a man at peace with his choices. This is a man measuring what those choices cost him. And that is where the conversation turns darker. Because when public figures begin to lose control of their narrative, others start filling in the gaps. The language being used about Meghan Markle is no longer soft, no longer careful. Words like malignant narcissist spoken openly on major platforms. Biographers describing her as bitter, unreconciled. Even family connections quietly labeling her an opportunist. Whether those claims are fair or not almost becomes secondary. What matters is that they are no longer being whispered. They are being said out loud. Which brings everything crashing back to the rumor that triggered this moment. Because now, when the idea of another woman surfaces, it doesn't feel like an outlier. It feels like an escape route. Not confirmed, not proven, but plausible in a way that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. And that shift in plausibility is the real story. Because the public reaction reveals something even more brutal than the rumor itself. There is no romantic intrigue left, no fascination, no shock. Instead, there is mockery, disbelief, even indifference. Comments questioning who would even want Prince Harry now. Comments suggesting the entire situation is nothing more than karma playing out in real time. That is the collapse of an image. Because once the public stops believing in the story stops protecting the people inside it. And now, for the first time, the roles have completely reversed. Meghan Markle, once seen as the disruptive force entering the royal system, is now the stable center of her own independent world. Prince Harry, once the figure of rebellion and certainty, is now the uncertain one moving, searching, looking back. Whether there is another woman or not almost becomes irrelevant. Because the real shift is already complete. The balance of power has changed. The narrative has fractured. The illusion has cracked. And the most dangerous part is what comes next. Because relationships like this do not collapse in a single moment. They fracture in stages. Quietly, gradually, until one final action makes it impossible to pretend anymore. And right now, everything feels like it is building toward that action. The next trip. The next absence. The next slip. The next photograph that raises more questions than it answers. Because when two people are living separate lives this completely, there is only one question left, and it is not whether something will happen. It is, who will make the first irreversible move when it does.